Hey guys, welcome back to Fudce playing World End Economica. And no, that's what Haru says anyway. I spoke spontaneously after waiting a few days for the next episode to start. After saying that, I wondered what nonsense I'd say, but my mouth continued on its own. There's one thing that can still be done. That would? She uttered that as if it baffled, then soon her eyes became intense. That would be what? And why now all the times? The obvious question. Eleanor's eyes were full of hope. Those eyes said, "Don't utter such nonsense. Even if it's only to insult me." That was certainly true, but I've wrapped my mind around it desperately just to come up with anything. It's not often you get a chance, but to reclaim something you lost in life. Risa slapped me on the back and said that to me before. I desperately sought out words when there's no confirmation. But if possible, there's still something to do. She sighed and looked away. What would that be? Check the generators. Huh? Instantly she turned my way. Certainly, it's here on paper. That's only a document. Even with welfare institution applications, there are guys that plan things out. Even back 4 years ago, having that stopped fingered on my tablet when I was in a cafe under the Barton's Hotel. I then blindingly believed there was a mountain of treasure slumbering there. But I didn't check out my own eyes. I stopped thinking and didn't use my head. I ain't done everything possible with everything I could have possibly used. It wasn't that I couldn't, I just didn't. If you're really going to quit after putting a room in a state. Should you at least end with kicking and screaming? Then, if it's still no good, chasing after that searing white light, maybe it could end up turning into a nightmare. I felt like if you tried everything possible, then even if you didn't regain what was lost, you'd at least be able to forgive yourself. Of course, it would be impossible to confirm all of it, but I would want there to be no regrets, unlike how I was back then. Not believing in government documents, and going those few hundred kilometres to check the generators. If there was still nothing, then, oh well. It may not actually be that simple, but I now stretched my hand out to its limits. Would you understand how I felt? I stared at Eleanor. And then she also looked at me. Her terrified eyes seemed like they were casting doubt on me. The hand had been stretched out so far already that it was grabbing at the sky. Fingers numb, eyes burned. The tears had begun to dry up. That hand was going to turn to dust and just vanished away. I almost let the words Hagana slip out my mouth. At that moment, Eleanor had started to wry laugh. She laughed as though she had lost at a loss. It's rather odd this should be my dream. But yes. She looked at her hamburger, then took it up. Just a bit more, kicking and screaming into the night. However, she bit into a cold burger and spoke. You'll come as well? Huh? Even though it's not a cruise ship, do you intend to send me into space alone? Now she mentioned it, that was right. There would be a patrol ship for workers for regeneration areas, or if not, then a charter ship. Right, I did suggest it after all. But let us try. The companies should surely open their schedules for states for Avalon. And it wouldn't be a lie. She grinned mischievously and spoke. However, honestly, this was supposed to be my dream. She looked this way, giving a small nod. I shrugged and knocked my hand. In it was recently an empty paper, then a empty paper. In it, there was a recently emptied paper hamburger wrapper. In Eleanor's hands was still a partially eaten hamburger. Thank you. She uttered that in a low voice, as if not wanting to be heard. I pretended I hadn't crumpled up the empty paper bag into a ball. I did some shopping for Reese and bought a small accessory for Chris, then returned to a church. As the sun set, the cold changed from chilling to painful. Because there were few lights in the outer district, it felt as though the world had ended. Yet if you looked up, you could see the stars through the dome. This was right in the middle of that 2-week-long period outside a dome. So those were real stars in the sky. There was one thing that actually improved since the energy price hike, was the stars were actually visible at night. That was like Eleanor's story. Eleanor was hanging on to Susie Wu in an obvious losing battle by the skin of her teeth. If that was cut, then certainly nobody would listen to anything she had to say about Avalon. The grounds for her accusations were also very shaky. Normally, one would have to withdraw from such a battle before the wounds completely consumed her. Yet I reached out to Eleanor, as she'd almost fallen to her knees, and as if to say, "Stand again," as I took her hand. This wasn't done for Eleanor's sake. It was done because I was a fragment of myself buried in the darkness surrounding Eleanor. I was terrible, I realised that, but I couldn't keep myself from reaching out. Because if I had reached out 4 years ago, then I might not have lost Hagar. I thought of that as I climbed the stairwell, hesitating because of the darkness, and headed towards a church feeling my way down the corridor. Finally reaching to what I believed was the entrance, I returned to reality thanks to a bit of light creeping from within. From 4 years ago to then. I opened the church door. Off from the entrance to the living room, Risa was resting her cheek and hand on the table as she read a book. "Welcome back." "Yeah. Here, I got what we asked you for." When I put her bag on the table, Risa looked at it. Apathetically, groaning, she got up from her chair. "Didn't the train stop?" "There were fewer than usual, and they were crowded." Honestly, so I did ask if he should send over a generator. I think I should take him up on that. Generator? He uses microbes to break down raw garbage. It makes fuel from that process, he said. But he probably just wants me to test some new product. He's working on stuff like that too. That's a bit unexpected. Someone's probably duped him into doing it. He may not look it, but is a pushover. We decided to say good grief, putting the stuff I bought into away in the refrigerator and shelves. Then, after putting everything away and folding up my bag, Risa stared at me. "So, how did you pick on Chris?" "What?" "She's been down ever since she came back. She just holed herself in my room as she finished eating." "Didn't you two need to go somewhere?" "Something urgent came up." "That's so." She said that and sighed a bit. "I know it's not my place to say this, but you really should do something about this." "Do something?" When I inquired, Risa scratched her head and looked over towards our rooms and to our sanctuary. "Chris, don't like her?" Being outright, I choked. She continued to cast doubtful gaze on me, but when I didn't answer, she asked in a small voice, "Hagar?" That single voice caused me to stagger back. That appeared to be all of an answer Risa needed. Of course I won't tell you to give up, but you need to make things clear. It's called to Chris. You're too kind in your strange way. I couldn't really refute it. Risa sighed once again and called my name. Haru. Do you feel some sort of weird obligation towards Chris since she saved you? With a sensation like I was being pricked with a needle deep in my chest. This is this, and that is that. Unless you make a distinction between the two, it's going to leave a bitter feeling with you and Chris too. I was able to recover because Chris has stayed with me for these 4 years. I was grateful for that, and of course I was happy that she had feelings for me. If possible, I'd like to respond to them, but just as Risa said, it may just be because I feel indebted to her for the last 4 years. Higano was still in my heart, taking a very large part inside of me. Because of that, I even reached out to Eleanor, who was wounded all over. If you don't know how you feel, then you should just start going out. What? There's love that hits you like a thunderbolt. There's love like you need to nurture. There aren't many girls like Chris out there. The way she spoke felt like she was some sort of a sales pitch, but in actuality it might be the case. Also, I was well aware of it myself. This was the exact issue of time Raina and I went to check on the abuse of the welfare program. There was a goal behind it, and reasonable actions should be taken. If I couldn't forget about her garden and couldn't have another, then wasn't I desperately searching for her? I was simply trying to return to her past. Ruth was also careful and upright about the important things, while she was also remiss them. The reason why she had gone out of her way to say it was probably because she saw an inconsistency between my emotions and actions. And because of that, it was almost as if I'd been dead for those past few years. I tried to speak, but I didn't really have anything to say. Haru, just don't forget this. Don't mistake sympathy for affection, obligation and appreciation too. After Risa said that, she put her book under her arm and gave a small yawn. I don't want the energy bill, so I'm going to bed. You should take a shower and go to bed too. She headed off towards her bedroom after saying that, before suddenly coming to a stop. Oh, that's right. Chris was sent an invitation to something by Saru. Yeah, that thing about the program being created, I think. It's just going to be a bunch of strangers there, right? Probably. There's a bunch of researchers, though. She said it's in 3 days. Huh? When I responded with puzzlement, she showed a rare, displeased furrowed brow. Did you forget the girl is uneasy around people other than us? Oh. Well then, night. She left after saying that. Now alone in the chilled living room, I looked at a small parcel with a gift I bought from Chris and thought, did my desire to return Chris's feeling come from sympathy and feeling that I was indebted to her? Also, had I really not given up on Hagana? I can't, no, mustn't forget how Hagana looked. Was I not just simply feeling sympathy for her? I returned to my room, grasping at a problem for which I could find no solution. Then I realised I've received a message on my tablet. Eleanor. I opened it up and said to leave as early as tomorrow on a charter ship to visit generators. Because they're rather far away, we need to spend the night long away. I didn't have any real plans, and so Saru's get-together wasn't for another 3 days. I responded instantly with my decision, as if trying to run away from my situation with Chris. I'll go. She responded instantly, saying I'll meet at the hotel tomorrow around noon. I closed my eyes and sighed. My face bathed in the tablet's lone light through that pitch-black room. The next day I apologised to Chris about yesterday, and she was heading off to the office. She smiled, saying it was fine. That sad face she made yesterday, when we parted ways, certainly wasn't my imagination. What Risa said hit home with me. Because of that, I didn't give Chris a gift. Also, when she said I'd be gone for about 2 days for stuff regarding Avalon's analysis, she was clearly shaken. From Risa's wink, I realised it was about Saru's get-together. Only male researchers coming. That was pretty worrying for Chris. I told her I should be able to go with her. Seeing Chris's relieved, beaming smile made me feel warm to seeing her over it too. She's almost like a little sister, isn't she? There's love that you hit like a lightning bolt, and there's love you need to nurture. I truly felt Risa was right about that. Before noon, we both headed off to New York's Newton City. Chris was headed to the office, so we parted ways in front of a station. I made a remark about how she seemed so carefree going to work today, after having cut so many losses. As I said that out loud, Chris took out her tongue and took off mischievously. She then turned around and waved, showing none of her sadness when we departed yesterday. When I headed to Royal Central Station, there was a tourist group from Terra instead of a usual gathering of men and women in formal wear and limousines. They probably came out to eat and have a look around. I passed by the crowd, looking curiously about. I was greeted by a smile of a hotel staffer who had come to recognise me as I entered that golden elevator. We look out for the 15th floor. The spatial divide is visible through a dome, even in the afternoon. I rang the doorbell for room 5002, and Eleanor soon opened the door. She was wearing a hat and looked ready to go. When I saw her get up, I was a bit surprised. Yes? When Eleanor questioned me, I frantically shook my head from side to side. She looked over her outfit, wondering if there was something odd about it. No, I think it's fine. That's all I could say. She was carrying a parasol on her trunk. It looked like she was heading off to a fancy resort. That's an ability for you, I guess. I was a bit surprised myself thinking such thoughts. Right this instant? Yes, if that's fine for you. Then let's get going. Splendid. Let us call for a driver and be off to a port. But this here is a bit... When after dragging her trunk around for a decided lack of elegance, he finally stumbled. Shall I take it? No, I'm fine. It seemed like the thick carpeting was making it even harder to drag. Even so, I was dumbfounded, just thinking what could be in it. A tea set? Maybe ball gowns? Let's try to get to the elevator. Saying this, I reached out to help her. When we reached the lobby, the hotel staff assisted her without even needing to be asked. We were finally able to make it safely to the car. We crossed the Odysseus capital, arriving at the port. There was an enormous crowd waiting for ships, which were all disembarking and landing to and from Terra. That's a new sight. Announcement blared incessantly, and I noticed a great deal of people carrying as much luggage as Eleanor. The majority headed towards the grand underground tunnels, either being sucked in or ejected out, which left a strong impression on me. It really was great of connecting a different world. This is a rather amazing place. Huh. Ah, that's right. You're Lunar-born. She smiled a bit as she said that. This takes me back. I cannot forget that feeling when I first arrived on the moon 5 years ago. As if I were going to Terra, I'd probably feel the same. Heh, I would recommend it. She said that and walked on, rolling her trunk along the port. Intralunar charter ship. That would be... Would it be over there? Oh, that's correct. Each one of the guides were designated the area for embarking and disembarking ferries. On the surface of the moon, there were low-gravity experimental installations, observatories for each country in the world, and mines and generators. We finished up the paperwork and stepped onto the conveyor belt that would take us to the underground, tunneling through a dome's protective layer. A panel came out quite courteously, saying beyond this point was outer space. The pathway rose up, and on the other side of that reinforced glass represented the blue sky, the endless, enveloping darkness of space. Isn't this exciting? She said that rather excitingly, seeming to be in high spirits. Those people from Terra get pretty excited when they see outer space, but I'm just the opposite. Space, cold and terribly vast. There were quite a few people who became stricken with a fear of being swallowed up by the vastness of space. It was called astrophobia, similar to acrophobia and agoraphobia. But I was scared of space in a different way. I was more afraid of the vast openness of space, making me realise how insignificant and meaningless I was. I headed a dark white behind Eleanor while I pondered those things. And we can just ponder them for a few more days because we're going to end the episode here. Right, so thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. My name is still Fudce. Bye bye.